us as we're moving forward. But just want to let you know a couple of things. You are being recorded. We are live streaming into Pittsboro and to Harnett. This is also available on our CCCC Life Size website. So anything that you say, there are microphones in this room as well as in on the other campuses. Just keep your voices to a minimum, and if you don't want it recorded, please don't say it. We might have to splice and cut the beginning, right? Also, at the end of the presentation, probably by the end of the week, I will have this available on my HR/professional development Blackboard site. In order to find it, you'll need to click on professional development, which is on the left-hand side, and it's the first folder which says Spring 2015 Professional Development Series. If you know of anyone that wanted to make it today and couldn't, the recording will be available at the end of the week. And without any other objection, I'm going to hand it over to the two Jamies and Lisa for our advisement update. Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming. I know it's kind of crunch time as we're getting ready to start pre-registration tomorrow, but this is important information for everybody to be aware of. I'm Jamie Childress. I'm Dean of Enrollment and Registrar.
I'm Jamie Stifler, Dean of Admissions.
Lisa Brown, Department Chair for Development Studies.
Okay, so we've got some changes in placement policy and procedures that we're going to discuss today. The first that a lot of you have probably heard about, multiple measures. It's going to be a waiver that we're going to go over. Then we've got some placement testing procedures that have changed a little bit. Some updates to DMA, the developmental math modules, and DRE, developmental reading and English advising. And then we're going to go over some practical advising scenarios. So, multiple measures. What's the policy? Okay, if we have a recent high school graduate with a specific GPA, then they may be considered math and English ready, college ready to go straight into our gateway courses. If the graduate doesn't make the GPA, then there are test scores that may determine placement based on his ACT or SAT, and you know all North Carolina 11th graders now take an ACT. If the recent high school graduate does not meet the GPA requirement, does not meet the testing requirement, then they can take the diagnostic test, okay, and be placed on that. If an applicant does not have a recent high school transcript, then they're going to need to take the diagnostic. Okay. We're getting there. Fine print. Fine print. Coming. Okay? Recent high school graduate means 5 years. Now, we had to have a practical way of determining this. So, it is literally, we put June 1 for our high school graduates. It might be, you know, June 8th at Overhills and June 9th at Triton and June 7th at Chatham Central. They're marked as June 1, okay? You know, because frequently we don't know, we don't have the transcript yet to know the exact date, but we know it was June for our students, okay? Anybody in North Carolina. So, if the student graduated in June of 2010, and we get that high school transcript before June 1st of 2015, they've met that 5-year mark. So you're looking at both the graduation date and the receival date, the receipt date of the high school transcript. You blinked on me. Okay? Now, unweighted GPA of 2.6. Okay? Unweighted GPA. This has been kind of a quagmire across the state because for years we had to put the weighted GPA down for our high school cooperative students. But now it's going to be in one place and you're just going to have to look one place. Okay? The high school tract cannot be general occupational. Those students used to get the certificate of attendance rather than an actual high school diploma. They got a certificate of attendance. Then when we did away with the competency test, we had to accept those students also. We still accept those students, but they would not qualify for the multiple measures waiver. Okay? Lastly, the student has to have earned a minimum of 20 high school credits. Okay? This policy was determined for our North Carolina public school students coming into the community college system. North Carolina requires a minimum of 20 credits. Some school systems only require 16. Okay, so the fine print. The student must have completed in high school 4 maths. That has to include Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And then one of these 4 maths would count as the 4th math. They have to not only have taken them, but pass them, okay? Passing being a D at the high school level, okay?
How do those integrate with the integrated math classes that they have?
Well, your 4 math classes can include any community college math class over 143.
But they don't call them algebra 1
They're
and
math
algebra
one,
2.
math
No, they're now called Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3. Don't worry, you don't have to. Yes, yes. Amazingly, they've changed the title, but they have maintained the course ID number. Okay. Yeah, I had to go download that just last week to explain something. Okay, so the maths that can be used are advanced functions and modeling, analytical geometry, AP statistics, discrete mathematics, IB math, integrated mathematics 4, pre-calc, calculus, mindset, probability and statistics, trigonometry, and a new one that should be starting this year would be essentials for college math. It is not official yet, but it's 99%. Okay? And then any community college math class 143 or higher. 143 or higher. Not 110, not 115, not 140. Okay? Not 121. 143 or higher. Okay, if the student's grade point average does not meet the specified level, the SAT or ACT scores in the last 5 years can be used. Our placement policy is 5 years. Placement tests are good for 5 years. These are considered admissions tests by most colleges and universities. We don't have an admission test. We're open door admissions, okay? But we do use these tests for placement and always have. However, now it's state mandated 500 on SAT, reading or writing, okay? Either one. ACT, reading or English, 22 for reading, 18 for English, okay? And then the best of the math, 500 SAT, okay? And ACT is math of 18. And yes, we get to mix and match. Now, this is not applicable to our GED high school equivalency students, okay? They take one test and they give us scores. There's 6 subjects and say pass, okay? So they don't meet the qualifications. We are applying this to any out-of-state high school transcript if all the same requirements are met. If they've got 20 credit hours, if it's not general occupational, if they've got Algebra 1, 2, geometry, and a 4th qualifying math, if their GPA is over 2.6 unweighted, okay? If I got to calculate their GPA and figure out if it was weighted or not, there's no waiver, okay? Same with the homeschool transcript, but typically they'll bring me a new one back. When I say, I'm sorry, I can't tell what the GPA is, you have to just put completed. Amazingly, that homeschool transcript's back in a couple days, correct? But they still have to have the same requirements, right? Now, this is only applicable to new students starting fall of this year, okay? If somebody's already in the pipeline and they don't, they've already placed into mastering math because they didn't hit the benchmark for math for DMA 10, I'm sorry, they're already in the pipeline. This does not apply to them. Student has to be non-enrolled for a year, and we require a new application for this to then come back and apply to. Okay, so, yeah, a lot of students say, well, and a lot of colleges handled it that way and said, now we've got all these students that we've got to go back and reevaluate. We don't have the resources to do that. Okay, in front of you, you have this flow chart. We tried to take the guesswork out of it from my office. So it's truly yes, no questions when these high school transcripts come in. Now, still having to technically evaluate every high school transcript that comes in. Okay? So you'll notice I've got an extra person down there. This is why, okay? Because you all know we might get 5,000 applications and only 2,000 might actually enroll as a new student, okay? But we still have to evaluate all of those. Okay? So, questions are there. Sorry that image didn't come out so well. But first thing we're looking at is, did they graduate within the 5 years? Okay? Yes or no? Is their unweighted GPA 2.6 or higher? Yes or no? Did they have a general occupational course of study? Yes or no? Did the high school transcript show the 4 math courses? Yes or no? Did they have at least 20 credits? Yes or no? If they had the 4 maths, did they have Algebra 2 and one of these others on this list? Yes or no? And so obviously we get smiley faces if yes, okay? If at any point they're thrown out of the chain, then we'll check their ACT, SAT scores. Okay? So how do you know if a student has a multiple measure waiver? Okay? Well, I'll show you that in just a minute. Sorry, I forgot the slide. Okay, what's this going to mean to you guys? Revising is critical. As I alluded to, a D is passing. Okay? Additionally, it looks like the public schools are going to a 10-point scale also. Okay? Now, can the student get a waiver if he got a D in that 4th math? Yes. Is that possibly the best solution for the student? Probably not. Okay? But that's where we need to have that conversation. Student can always opt to take the placement test to better determine where he should be placed. And we're going to have some assistance for those students who fall between the 2.6 and the 3.0. I didn't point it out on an earlier slide, but there's already some early documentation that the students between 2.6 and 3.0 are successful in the Math 110, the Math 140, 143, not as successful in the Math 171. Right? I'm sure we will see much more data on that. This is going to result in a decrease in placement tests, which is good since the placement test is now going to take a lot longer. It's also going to mean a decrease in the number of developmental courses. Conversely, there's going to be an increase in a higher demand for those gateway English and math classes. From what I've heard across the state, about 1/3. Okay, up about 1/3. I'm looking at you, Scott, and I don't see Ty in here. Him too. Up about 1/3 as far as the demand. That means pre-registration is going to be even more critical, and we need to push the students to be aware of that so that they get a slot. Now, obviously, even if they get a slot, they still have to pay for it. Okay, or they will lose that slot. There's going to be a much greater competition, and it's going to take us a while to figure out the ratio, I'm sure. Okay, so where do you know whether or not the student has actually received the multiple measure waiver? So if you go and look at TSUM, the bottom section of other tests, I've built a test called high school GPA. Okay, I know it's very creative. Right? Now, we're using a 4-digit scale. So they have to have 2,600 or higher, as high as 4,000, in order to get the waiver. So if they've got a 2.6, their score will be 2,600. If they had a 3.25, multipliers 1,000, so they got 3,275 for this test score, okay? Now, the date, okay, that it's issued, or that it's taken, is that what it says? Date taken, right here, this is their high school graduation date, okay? This date, as far as the status, is where we received the transcript and entered it. And remember, that's what we've got to have the 5-year mark on.
Say that again. So if I was looking for someone as this student, June 1st, 13, then the 18th
In 2018,
is gone.
after June 1st, if they submitted their transcript after June 1st of 2018, they would no longer qualify for the multiple measure waiver. Right? Now, the state is trying to determine a nice workflow. So trying to counter these once they time out so that they can't actually be removed from the student's record, but they can no longer be used to fulfill prereq requirements. Okay? Right now, it will fulfill prereq requirements. Okay? Now, the other way you can check this is on stack. Okay? You'll notice this student, it's the same student we just saw a minute ago, has DRE 96 through 98, DMA 10 through DMA 80, and Math 050. There should be no prereq issues with the student signing them up for an English 111 or a Math 110 through 171. Okay? Now, all of our current students in the pipeline, I know when we started for spring, there were, a lot of prereq issues that's coming from the state, us downloading those courses. I've recalculated everybody, there should be less, and we'll discuss shortly why there will be even fewer prereq issues, and as long as it's a new student coming in, you should not have any trouble registering the student for developmental. Yes, ma'am?
Just a question about the dates,
Mhm.
5 year. So if they, let's say, like we're in the cycle that we're in right now where students we get where they can register for the fall. If they are sliding in under that 5 year and they submit their transcript, say in the summer session, but it would have expired before the fall session begins, are they still
They're
considered?
in as long as they go ahead and take a class in the fall.
Okay.
Now, it might be a whole nother matter if they wait a year or two to take that class. Okay? But right now, we had to have a date. We had to have parameters to figure that out. So, what made the most sense was the high school graduation date and the date that they actually get it to us. Okay.
Will this information show up on eval?
No. Oh, yes, eval it does. It does not show up on the transcript.
Placement testing. So who needs to test? We'll still abide by those old rules. If they are pursuing a program of study that has English, math, or needs those types of test scores like EDU courses or chemistry courses, those students will still need to test. Testing exemptions. Those that don't need to test would be if they're bringing in transfer credit for any English or math class that are appropriate to satisfy those prerequisites. If they're bringing in articulated credit, advanced placement, or if they have acceptable test scores in the last 5 years. And those acceptable test scores we do have listed on our placement testing website, and we're in the process of updating that to meet the fall prereqs. But last 5 years, we're talking about SAT, ACT, and still looking at Compass, ACID, and the older AccuPlacer. And then obviously, they would be exempt from testing if they have to meet the multiple measures waiver. So we've had some changes in our placement testing over the last few years. Notably, since March 2nd, we've been doing the new English diagnostic test. And so now the NCDAP consists of really 4 sections. The English has a right placer essay where students have to compose a 300 to 600 word essay. A reading section and a revising section. They're actually 2 separate sections, but College Board combines them into one 50 multiple choice section. And then the math. There's no change to the math. Math is still 10 through 60, 72 questions. And from those 4 sections, the way that the English is scored, the older AccuPlacer, we got 4 different scores. No longer with the new English diagnostic. You get one composite score. So they actually weight the right placer 30%, they weight the reading 50%, and then they weight the revising 20%. So that equation equates to the composite score. The composite score is the only score we will use to place students into English classes or DRE classes. And then the math modules, the scores are still the same. They're still ranging from 1 to 12 of a score, with 7 being proficient. So there's no changes in the math. Okay. So on TSUM, when you look at it, you can determine kind of what's going on with the way we enter things. So underneath admissions tests, that's where Jamie's office will put any type of exemptions due to transfer credit, math, English, or CLEP, anything like that. And then, excuse me, in the placement testing section, which is the middle section of TSUM, you'll see the placement of SAT, ACT, Compass, ACID, and the older AccuPlacer scores. They'll all still be in the middle where you're used to seeing them now. The other tests, that's where the DRE scores will go. So for the reading, the revising, the composite, the essay. You'll have 4 separate scores, even though you should only use the 1 composite score. So you'll need to be very careful when you're advising a student to be sure that you're just looking at that 1 composite score for the DRE English classes. And then also, math is still going to be there. When a student tests into mastering math or mastering reading, and they pass that class, those results will go in other tests, as well as multiple measures waiver. And sometimes, too, you'll see a career and college promise student may have plan, PSAT scores. You'll also see those scores down there as well. So there's a lot of information that goes into those other tests section. Okay. And just to echo what Jamie is saying, when we enter in those test scores on TSUM, it'll start populating STAT. And so you can use those screens in conjunction with one another to see exactly what do they have credit for the non-courses.
For the new NCDAP that we're using for the reading and writing, are we taking any combination of those courses to make a composite, or is it the one composite that they get when they test?
Well, you'll take the composite, but if they retest, then the composite score will be recalculated. So you could see 2 composite scores. You'll take the highest.
But does the composite score the second time come from their first
yes.
test results?
It'll take the highest of the 2 testing.
Yeah.
And College Board automatically calculates that for us.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the state crosswalk for the DRE classes and with the scoring. So if they get a composite score of 100 to 103, and this is on your crosswalk up on the top. So if they get a composite score of 100 to 103, then they're testing into the basic skills level. We'll address that here in the next couple slides. If they have a composite score of 104 to 116, then they pick the DRE 096 sequence. If they have a composite score of 117 to 135, then they start off with the 097 sequence. If they have a composite score of 136 to 150, then they take DRE 098. And then if they have a 151 or higher, then they're eligible to take English 111. So a few things about those scores. We have what's called testing below the floor. When a student gets the 100 to the 103 in the NCDAP English, and then for the math portion, if they get a 1 in DMA 10, and then they don't have proficiency in any of the other ones, that's called testing below the floor. So anytime a student tests below the floor, we have to refer them to take the tape. Because these scores don't have a lot of validation behind them. We have to have that second assessment to validate that that indeed is where they're placing. So we refer them to the College and Career Readiness to take the tape. And if they pass the tape, meaning if they're 9th grade or higher, then they go into their DRE or their DMA sequence. If they fail the tape, meaning they're below the 9th grade level, then that's when they'll start the mastering reading or the mastering math. Once they have those complete with 80% or better, then that's when they move on to their DRE or DMA sequence. Now, you won't see those TABE scores in there. That's behind the scenes for the counselors. Only the counselors are going to be able to do the TABE referrals and let students know if they passed or not. So you won't see any of the TABE results in data.
If we have a student that's out of the service area, are they able to go to any of our community colleges and take the placement and have it transferred in here?
Yes, they can take the placement test and then transfer those scores back to us. As long as it lasts 5 years.
They might have to pay for it.
Yeah. Or some schools don't test other non-students. And then you'll notice that English 102 and English 110 were not on the crosswalk. So we know that they need DRE 097 or higher. So they need to have an English composite score of 136 or higher to go into English 102 and 110 with no issues. And then with the Career and College Promise, just as FYI, not a lot of you deal with the Career and College Promise students in here, but they have to have a 151 or higher to be eligible to enroll in the college transfer pathways.
Is that, I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is that something that Virginia Brown will work with exclusively?
Yes, Virginia and the CCW
Myself and our
advisors.
advisors. That's just fine. Myself and our advisors, but of course, if you guys have any questions, because I know that sometimes you do about the prerequisites, just let us know. Because as Jamie mentioned, we also can take plan scores, ACT scores, so it just depends. They're not all taken out.
Okay, some other things to think about when you're looking at scoring and interpreting where they're placing. Just know that we can look at scores in the last 5 years. So we're still looking at Compass, ACIT, older AccuPlacer scores. We're still looking at all those older scores. So you'll still use the crosswalk, and those scores are still, up at the top. So you're still looking at using those in the last 5 years. And then right now, our SAT scores are 450 across the board. Our ACT scores are 18 across the board. So effective fall, we're going to increase them to the multiple measures level. And then, as Jamie already pointed out, you can use a combination to place. You can use reading compass, old AccuPlacer arithmetic, ACIT algebra. I mean, you can use a combination to place a student. So, especially when you have a lot of scores going on TSUM, it can get very confusing.
It helps to export into Excel so you can look them off. Okay.
All right. When we first started, we were like a pilot school for the DMAs, the crazy DMAs. But anyway, over time, with the new state prereqs coming in, and we have to download them, we decided to go to the new crosswalk, where it's the state crosswalk, basically. And it says that Math 60 is DMA 10, 20, and 30. So we're going to kind of equivalent that now, instead of our 10, 20, 40 kind of crosswalk. 70 is 40, 50, 80 is 60, 70, and 80. Okay, so that will be starting in the fall with the new crosswalk. So Math 171 advising requires modules DMA 10 through 80. I've had a lot of students, or not students, but students. I've talked to a lot of students, and I've also talked to advisors. DMA 60 is a proficiency, so on our placement test. So if they do not make a 7 in 60, they have to take 60, 70, and 80. Okay, so remember that. So if they take DMA 60 and make below a 7, then they have to take 60, 70, and 80. There's not a 70 and 80 test. They took that part away when they redone the placement test a long time ago. So do remember that they will have to take 60, 70, and 80. Okay?
What about students who don't get through 20, 30, and 40, but they get 60? Do they take whatever they needed down there, and then they get 60 and they're proficient?
That's right. At the moment. I heard just recently they had some conversation at a meeting that there's some schools looking at that. What is happening is they're not proficient below, and now they can't do, they aren't passing 60, 70, and 80. So there, I think there's going to be some talk about that too. So, there is a schedule of classes online. I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but can we go there on there? I think she put the link there. So if you go to our website, and you can go, because people say all the time, so I can't see the DREs or the DMAs. Well, if you go here to Fall PDF, it's updated every morning at 7:08. So there it lists all the classes for the whole college. Did everybody know that? No? I thought that was something we all knew. So that's a great tool to use to see what time the DMAs or the DREs are on. Okay?
What was that again?
Okay, if you go to the website, I go to apply and register, and when you hit apply and register, then you come up to class schedule, and then click right there.
Right here?
Yep. And then there they are. And that's a good thing to use as a tool when you're looking at classes filling up. You know, there's only one seat left. Students can see this too. So it's also a good tool to use as far as looking at your class numbers for all those that look at that. Okay? All right. Thank you. There we go. So we got the scheduled classes. Math 140 will be offered for the last time this summer. Is that not correct there, Scott? So you're not offering 161, only 140. Okay? New math courses for the fall. We thought we would give Scott some time here too. We got Math 110, 121, 143, 152, and 171, where we used to have, what, 12, 14 different math classes, entry-level math classes. Now we don't. So it's going to be a whole different ballgame. I think one of the major changes was Math 143 and Math 152, they have to know how to read before they can take these classes now. So grade 98 is a prereq.
Raising.
What?
Can you go back?
Okay. I'm sorry. I did hit it. So that is a major change. You know, before when we had Math 70, we did have a co-requisite of reading of 80 or 90 or something was a co-requisite. But now it is a prereq. So when you're advising students, they need to be ready to take English 111 before they can take their Math 143 or Math 152.
That's listed on your crosswalk also.
It is. We got all kinds of stuff on there. I can't wait to tell you about that. All right. And then students who need to enroll in Mastering Reading or Math must see a student services counselor to register. So, you know, if you are working with someone, you can't register them for Mastering Math or Mastering English, so student services can do that. Okay? And students currently enrolled in developmental courses still need to abide by older crosswalks. So you don't want to throw out your other one just yet, okay? Because you still have some in the pipeline. Because basically we took off all the old math classes off of here, and now we only have the new ones. Okay? Okay, so looking at your new and improved crosswalk, we made it bigger so you don't have to get your bifocals out. You still have to get them out sometime, maybe. But anyway, we have the math on one side, and basically we have all the new math, okay? We did add some stuff like under 143 and 152, prereq grade 98, so we kind of put some extra information on here for you. Oh, you gonna pull it up there? Okay. Yeah. So we have it here. Is that the math? Yep. Okay, so we have prereq of grade 98 or reading 80, reading 90 or English 90, so those would be prereqs at the moment. And for 152. We had a few boo-boos that we found after we had it printed. But we also have the SAT scores, ACT scores. We have all the scores that I think, except for plan on there, that could possibly be up at the top. Let's see what. Oh, we also. That's on the other side. Oh, hopefully. But also down at the bottom of the math, and we have some non-course that are not math classes, like biologies, have co-requisites and prereqs. So any of the other classes we had, like Hum 115, Med 116, some other classes have some prereqs and co-reqs that we put on there too. So hopefully this has them all. If y'all think of some other ones, let me know. All right, so then we have the DMA one, or the DRE one. I can call them something else. But anyway, we have English 102, so we now have the curriculums listed there for those of you that needed, like Jason and them, so they would need, know, because I know I made a mistake by thinking everybody needed to be in English 111 when this person really needed English 110. So then we have the curriculum, so we're going to have to look and see what the curriculum codes are when we're trying to move students. And we also have some English non-course requiring DREs down at the bottom also. Down here, those are for the DREs. I was on the wrong side, wasn't I? Flip it back over one time. I need to show the corrections. We did have a few boo-boos, which I was very pleased we only had a few. But I was distraught this morning when we had to figure them out. So what we did is I just went and made some things at the bottom. Math 143 and Math 152, if a student placed into Math 070, they need to take 40 and 50. If a student has credit for Math 070, no DMA is required. So that was a boo-boo that we had to fix with our little black ink there. And then I also put on there about the Math NC-DAP. If they score a 1 in 10 and do not pass, do not have a 7 in 20 through 60, then they have to take the TABE and have to go to the college and career readiness department to do that, and also for the English. Okay. All right, so now we get to put this to work. I'm sorry, you other campuses. Pittsburgh does have some, but Harnett is on its way.
Can you send me a digital copy of that?
Sure.
And I can work to have that placed in the test scores tab in a visa.
Okay, great. Because I like that little thing up there. That's good.
Yeah. And I'll see if I can also work with Alex so that he'll have the old copy and the new copy like you were talking about. So you'll be able to still access both.
And it will be on the intranets as soon as we, sometime soon. All right, so now I want you to go to work. I want you to look at your crosswalk. We have an Associates in Arts student. All right, you got to work. Oh, I just touched it. You have acupuncture arithmetic score 53, algebra 68, and a reading and sentence skills. So I want you to tell me what maths or what Englishes the student has to take. We're assuming that they're going to English 111 again. Yes, this is Associates in Arts. And Math 143.
Okay, you got it?
Got it? We only have 5 minutes. Daniel thinks he's got it, okay?
DMA,
So what do you think?
DMA's 10 through 50 and then DRE 09709.
Okay, let's see if he's right. Ta-da! 10 through 50, 97, 98. Woohoo! Very good.
The answer to this is send your advisee to Daniel.
Or, what was your extension?
It's on the top of the page.
7362 is your friend.
So, but also must complete grade 98 before enrolling in Math 143, right? Grade 98 is a prereq. For Math 171, because I had an Associates in Arts advisee call me last week, and he's leading his student to 171. So depending on, where they're going to college, I guess some of them would be taking 171. And so that's 60, 70, and 80. All right, let's do another one. We have Associates in Science student. And I tried to type them all out. So we got a 7 for 10, 5 for 20, 6 for 30, 8 for 40, 7 for 50, and a 3 for 60. We see all kinds. You wouldn't believe the numbers we see. Let's see what that student would take.
For English 111 and Math 171.
Yep. English 111 and Math 171. I know this is kind of short. You have to kind of think about it. It's not an easy task. Math's a little easier because you can look for 7s higher. Someone else besides Daniel?
Say for 171?
And English 111. You think you got something? All right, what you got?
They're going to figured it out, yes.
Oh.
And DRE 98.
All right, let's see if he's correct. Ta-da! 20, 30, 60, 70, 80. And the student doesn't make a 7 on DMA 60, then, yeah, I just kind of put that up there as a reminder. And then Dre 98. Very good. Okay. So we got another one, a pre-nursing student. Thought you would like this one. Okay. Since all students want to be a nurse. Okay. So we have these scores for a pre-nursing student. Now, notice I have switched over to the NC DAP English and Reading.
I didn't know this question, but what math would
Needs tape.
At least it's like 110.
Very good.
Very good. Student needs tape for both.
All right, so is that what my answer is? Then we'll have to take the tape test for math and English. For a 9 or better. All right, we got another. We have an automotive student. Okay. He has a high school GPA of 2.4 and SAT scores of 450. Has to take placement test. Very good. All right. Student will need to take the placement test. All right. How about one more? Or we got 2 more, I think. Business administration student.
So he's going to want English 111.
And
He's got their reading line.
okay. So we have, anybody want to answer that one?
DMA is 40 and 50, and then still needs DRE 097 or 98.
So DRE 97.
9798. Because I know some curriculums are going to Math 110 and some are going to Math 143. So I put both of them up here. So if your student's going to Math 110, Math 060 is the same as 10, 20, 30. If the student's going to Math 143, student will take 40 and 50, incomplete, grade 98 for 40. So as advising, you're going to have to really think about the English. If they place in the low-level English, you need to get that English out of the way before you think about the math. Because they got to have that English before they get to the math. So you do want to kind of put the English, I think, on the forefront. And then last but not least, a human services student. And mastering math, they have to make 80 or better. Or English, mastering English or reading, they do the same as in developmental. You have to have an 80 or better.
So this student
On
will
their
want
test.
Math 110 and English 111.
So Math 110 and English 111.
That's the goal.
Oh, so that's got it again, okay?
DMA is 10 through 50 and 96 through 98 for DRE.
I believe that's correct. That was English one.
Said English, the score was 45. 45 puts into reading 080, placed
So we missed
into
that one.
rating 080 is 96 through 98. Oh, I missed the bottom one, sorry.
Okay.
Saturday.
Whew, I thought we had missed one.
Mhm.
We do.
My fault.
We are human. We all make mistakes. So to try to decipher all this, it's a challenge. So one of the things I do want to bring up, and we have found as I have students have not been successful in their drays, is they're only signing up for one dray. I mean, we need to be getting them in a 97 and a 98 if that's what they need, back to back. I know that's 6 hours, but we need to get those out of the way. So what's happening now, or since we've been doing it, they take 96 in the fall, 97 in the spring, and so it takes them a year and a half to get their drays out of the way. So I do encourage you to try to get the students to take all their DREs up front.
With us moving to the state level math crosswalk, we should have far fewer prereq issues.
So try to register students for DMAs and DREs. Make my life happy. And there's my number. Yes, it is at the top. So if you have any questions, I would much rather you call me if you. What I like for you to do is try to figure it out, and then call me and say, "Did I do this right?" Because that's how we're going to learn. Okay. And if all your counterparts was unable to come to this wonderful show today, tell them to watch the video at the end of the week.
And Lisa, can you send me those, because I'd like to put those up on the Blackboard site as well.
Yes.
So that could be a supplement.
And we are going to, I may put these in the mailroom. I haven't decided mailroom, or if you know someone that needs one, just tell them to come see me or call. I can put one in the mail for them. Okay. Any questions? I know we gave a lot of information in a short period of time, but
It's a scheduling question for DRE. I've had students who did not pass their, let's say 097 on the first, and instead of it going to be in the same time slot for the second part, it's in a different time slot, so they can't take it because then it conflicts with their 16-week classes.
well, that was a problem because I added about 25 classes, didn't I, Casey? Last grade, canceled all 25 of them, or almost. I mean, I think I had 3 extra classes, so it's kind of hard. So, you know, and then I saw where they were only signing up for 1, so it didn't matter. You know, if I offered that, yes, I'm going to try, but, you know, I can't offer a class with 2 students. And I don't know that until I move students. So it's kind of, they may have to wait. But I did move some down at Harnett they were in the DMAs at 1 o'clock, and I could move them to the DMAs at 8 o'clock, and then they could take their dray over. So I did do some finagling of schedules to help the students. So it's kind of a scheduling nightmare because I don't know until the grades are posted who passed and who didn't. I try to get an idea, but, you know, and then this time I could have probably had a class because there was like 9. I don't know that.
Please
My
remind
crystal ball was broke. I mean, it broke a long time ago when they started the redesign.
your advisees, the census date for DMAs is literally the second day. If they're taking it at night, the census date is the first meeting, okay?
And for
They
drays,
have to be there.
we have a lot of students like, nobody told me I had to be here the first night. Well,
Is that something
sorry, you can come next time.
Try that.
So drays, DMAs, it is the second day or the first night. For drays, it is the first night and the third day. So, and the schedules I sent out are the schedules that poor little Casey gets to type in all that stuff. So it has those dates down there at the bottom. You can just look and see when the census date is, so you got all that information. And on Jamie's wonderful calendar, she sends that too.
But the fall night 4th DMA is being corrected, okay? Just the night one, okay?
But anyway, thank y'all for what y'all do. Y'all do a great job advising. I mean, you really do, because we did not have to move a whole lot of students. And so it's getting better, and if you can understand this, I commend you. Because believe me, we work with it every 4 weeks and every 8 weeks. So it is a task to really understand what we're doing. So but feel free to call me. Or call one of these ladies too. Put your name up here. Put your name. Anyway, but thank y'all for coming. Is there any question?
Yeah, any questions on the other campuses?
Is there a coffee machine in this building?
Do we just send the students to y'all?
Yes.
Still very
We're on the Stanford campus.
Trinette, Lisa just said she sent you the crosswalks.
To distribute them.
Please
Will
make
do.
sure that everyone gets one that's in the room.
Okay, will do.
And other advisors if possible.
Any other questions?
What did she want to?
What was that?
Do you have any other questions?
Do you guys have any questions?
No?
No, they don't have any questions.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.